Good evening. We're ready to begin the meeting. The Planning Commission meeting of October 9, 2008 has been called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, Tuesday at 5 a.m., and Thursday at 6 p.m. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Chair Goins?
Present.
Vice Chair Trowbridge?
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale?
Present.
Commissioner Evans?
Present.
Commissioner Steinman?
Present.
Commissioner Dunham?
Here.
Commissioner Quinn?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'd like to call forward from the audience Councilman Steve Ross of Ward 6 of the City of Las Vegas has asked for a couple of moments. We will not need to set the timer, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, you may want to set the timer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Good evening. I'm certainly glad to be here. However, heavy in my heart is the occasion tonight. Commissioner Dunham, as you know, is resigning from this board, and I want the residents at home that are watching this on TV, as well as the folks here, and you commissioners already know how I feel about him and the sacrifices that he's made for the citizens of this city and for the residents of Ward 6. He is one of my very best friends. He works very hard for the citizens of Ward 6. I've known this man for many, many years. A single dad doing the best that he can and trying to make things work. And I just want to express my appreciation to you commissioners as well for befriending him and taking him under your wing. And he's certainly seasoned now. He's been doing this long enough. But we've had many conversations about the ins and outs and the great growth challenges we've faced all throughout the city, not just in Ward 6. But Commissioner Dunham, my heart goes out to you. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the sacrifices that you've made for me and for the citizens of Ward 6. It's been a pleasure serving with you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to extend my gratitude for the opportunity that you gave me to be able to serve the city of Las Vegas. And it's truly been an experience, and the people here are absolutely phenomenal. And I was on the development side and on the podium side for so many years now. I literally have been able to see both sides of the fence. And the grass is green on both sides, to be very honest with you. So thank you again. I appreciate it. And it's very difficult to let go of this position.
Commissioners, it's difficult for me to say goodbye, and I know the rest of the commissioners too, because I've already been given a hard time about it. In fact, all day from the development community as well. But I don't think you're done serving the citizens of Ward 6, Commissioner. I think there's some wonderful things out there for you, and I'd like to be there with you when it comes.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I think those words well taken. Sam, if I could have you step up here for a moment. I have one other ceremonial matter I want to read to you. This is a proclamation to Commissioner Sam Dunham, Planning Commissioner, with recognition and appreciation serving on the City of Las Vegas Planning Commission from August 2005 to October 2008. I just want to present this to you on behalf of the City of Las Vegas, the mayor, the staff, for your dedication to the city. The Planning Commission, we will have comments at the end of the meeting as well, so we encourage everybody to stick around. I know some of Sam's family is here as well. Could I have them please stand? And Sam, if you'd like to. I know his mom is here. Very good. I'd like to recognize her too. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. With that, is Commissioner Quinn okay down there? We know
No.
she gets her, every time she cries, we have to get her a diamond to get her quiet. So we'll move back to official business. We'll move back to official business. I'd like to call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any question, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 11, 2008 Planning Commission meeting.
On your behalf, I'd like to make that motion.
Motion's on the floor for approval. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed. Thank you. Staff, housekeeping?
Mr. Chairman, item number 16, SUP 28795, is requested abeyance to the November 6, 2008 Planning Commission. Items 17 and 18, ZON 29204 and SDR 29203, is requested in abeyance to the December 4, 2008 Planning Commission meeting. Items 24, 25, 26, and 27, ZON 29661, VAR 29663, VAR 29958, and SDR 29658, have requested an abeyance to the October 23rd Planning Commission meeting. Thank you.
Could you repeat those numbers for me, please? Just the
Item numbers. Item numbers 16, 17, 18, 24, 25, 26, and 27.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any items any commissioners wish to be pulled? Seeing none?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Tabitha Fittement, 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway, here on behalf of the applicant on item number 30. We just realized that we've missed one of the signs that we intended to incorporate as part of our package, and so we'd ask that this item be obeyed for 30 days so we can amend our application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Staff, do we have a 30 days, okay?
There's no objection.
Thank you.
Is that item 29 and 30, or just 30?
I believe just 30.
Yes, just 30, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I have your moment for?
You surely may. How are you?
I'm concerned about item number 17 with the towers at the power company, or electric, Nevada Power. Has that been postponed?
Yes, until December 4th,
December 4th?
2008. Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. No more questions or comments? A motion on the abeyance withdrawal request items?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented and amended by staff recommendation.
Motion for approval. Please cast your votes. And that motion has passed. Next on the item are consent items. Consent items are considered routine by the Planning Commission and may be acted by one motion. However, any item may be discussed if a commission member or applicant so desires. There's one item on the consent agenda, item 6. Questions or comments? Is there a motion on item 6 on the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve item number 6, TMP 29-652, with conditions as submitted.
Thank you. Motion to approve. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed.
I'll go forward to council on November 5th.
We'll move on to our one motion, one vote items. Those are items 7 through 12. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearing and non-public hearing items will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. Okay. I'll read those in. Item 7, VAC 29487, applicant owner Resources Group LLC et al. To vacate approximately 15-foot wide by 75-foot long portion of public right-of-way alley generally located 253 feet southeast from the southeast corner of Chicago Avenue and Industrial Road. Item 8, applicant owner City of Las Vegas, request from U undeveloped zone to TC Town Center, general plan designation to TC Town Center District on the northeast corner of Grand Montecito Parkway and Durango Drive. Item 9, WVR 29538, applicant owner GNLV Corporation et al. To allow Carson Avenue to terminate without the required cul-de-sac on Carson Avenue east of Main Street. Item 10, SUP 29607, applicant El Nepal Mexican Grill, owner FAEC Holdings, we're Werula LLC for a beer wine cooler on-sale establishment at 450 Fremont Street, Suite 117. That concludes the one motion, one vote.
11 and 12, too.
Oh, 11 and 12 as well. Item 11, SUP 29649, applicant owner Palm Mortuary, Inc., for a cemetery on 13.12 acres at 1325 North Main. Item 12, SDR 29648, for a proposed 14,771 square foot addition to an existing cemetery and crematory. These are the one motion, one vote items. May I have a motion for approval?
Make a motion for approval for items 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of the one motion, one vote item, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions. Please cast your votes. And that motion has passed. We
All
move-
matters go forward to council on November 5th.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Tony Celeste. Address is 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway. I meant to get up here earlier about when we were holding or evading items. On items 24, 25, 26, and 27, we did request a 2-week hold. Also, we requested, though, that we able to somehow fast-track this to City Council date and keep that original City Council date of November 5th. We had that in our hold letter as well.
That's not a matter for the commission. We'll take that at the staff level.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to put those comments on the record. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Very good. Move on to our... Mr. Kilford?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to do this to you, but you don't stay married for 37 years not keeping a promise to take your wife to dinner. And I know at the end of the meeting you were going to have things, people could say things to and about Commissioner Dunham, and I have to leave now. But and he's not here to hear him. But anyway, I just wanted to thank him very much for his years of service. And oh, there he is. Okay. Oh, he can hear me.
He may be going to dinner with you.
All you ever ask out of anyone who serves in this position or council position or commissioner is that they listen, they act honestly and responsibly, and they tell you the truth. And in every single way, every single time, that's exactly what Commissioner Dunham has done. And I just wanted to say thank you very much, Commissioner, for the years of service. I've been doing this a lot of years, and I have not worked with anyone who had any more integrity or who was more honest and fair, and I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, I also wanted to say, I mean, your group is phenomenal to work with, and every time, whether we had a disagreement or we agreed on a subject or disagreed on a subject, we could always be civil with each other, and it was just it's been a real pleasure working with you and all of your people. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Moving on to our public hearing items. Item 13, VAR 29412, applicant Big Town Mechanical, owner BBH LLC, to allow 73 parking spaces where 106 parking spaces are required for a proposed light manufacturing facility at 1924, 1930, and 2000 Western Avenue. Note this application has been amended to reflect a parking variance to allow 82 parking spaces where 120 are required. Item 14, SDR 29409, for a major amendment to an approved site development plan review for a proposed 54,206 square foot light manufacturing facility. Staff?
Good
Excuse
evening.
me, Chairman, I will be abstaining. We own the property across the street.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the subject site was previously approved for an approximate 49,500 square foot light manufacturing facility with an associated parking variance allowing a 28% parking deficiency in April of this year. The applicant has since modified the original approval to include an additional 9,848 square feet of floor area, and in turn has intensified the parking deficiency to approximately 32%. The proposed major amendment and associated variance applications are clear indications of the site being overbuilt and cannot be supported. Therefore, staff has recommended denial of both applications. Furthermore, staff would like to amend condition number 1 as submitted to the clerk to reflect the deletion of variance VAR 26127, and to amend condition number 3 as submitted to the clerk to reflect a combined site and landscape plan date stamped October 3rd of 2008 and a building elevation date stamped August 11th of 2008. Thank you.
And those two changes are to the site plan, item number 14.
Applicant?
Thank you. Karen Richardson with the Richardson Partnership, Architects for Big Town Mechanical. We're located at 815 Pilot Road, Suite E in Las Vegas. The reason we're here this evening is because of 3 items, and this is really, in our minds, a clarification of the original application that we submitted and that you approved in January, February of this year. The first item, where staff makes reference to adding square footage, is, it looks like we added square footage, but what really happened is we made a little mathematical error. The site plan that you saw earlier in the year, the footprint has remained the same. We have not grown the building by 9,000 square feet. In fact, there was about a 5,000 square foot error in our calculation, and that really all came from our internal discussion when we were taking out circulation space that in relationship to the parking variance, we wanted to see what the difference in the numbers were. And it just got carried over into the plan that we submitted. Because of that error, of course, the parking went from the 73 spaces that we were asking for, 74 spaces that we were asking for earlier in the year, to the 82 that we're now asking for. All of the conditions remain the same as we discussed earlier in the year, and that is this company does not employ 83 people that are on site at the same time every day. In fact, they have about 30 people on staff. That's what they expect to have in this new facility. And the additional employees or subcontractors that they have travel to and from the sites as they are assigned, and they are rarely at the headquarters. That's expected to remain the same in the future. We did ask for a waiver of the landscaping that you approved earlier in the year on the north and south property lines. We also, in that original application, showed you, and if we could switch to the overhead, please, showed you a, I don't see the microphone. Is it? Can you still hear me? Okay, okay. Oh, okay, great. We showed you this pop-out where the landscape or the building is set back about 10 feet, where your code requires 15 feet. So we have not changed that. We always showed that condition, but it didn't get picked up in the analysis. We missed it as well, so we didn't ask for it to be waived earlier in the year. We're asking for that now. I see in the analysis and your staff recommendations that it is not noted as a waiver, but we are requesting that now. If there's anything else I can clarify for you, I'm certainly happy to do that.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak for or against this item? Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I don't count 73 parking spaces there. Am I missing something? I think I count right in here, and I count in here, right up in here. I think there's about 30 or so.
Ms. Richardson, could you point out the parking spaces for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a third floor on this building, as I hope you can see in this elevation view, and that's where 49 spaces occur, and that is primarily for the employees who will be at this facility full-time.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments or questions from the commissioners? Vice Chairman Silvers?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Director Wheel?
Staff, there's been a discussion about a building pop-out waiver. Is this something
There's no associated waiver with this application. There's also discussion about parking spaces.
Well, the 10-foot and 15-foot. I want to make sure we're not approving something that needs a subsequent action. If I may, you pointed out some 10-foot.
I did.
Can you
Yes, absolutely.
Reiterate that again, please.
Yes, absolutely. This area along Western Avenue where the building pops out, this is at the northeast corner of the building. It was shown originally, and you approved it at the beginning of the year, and we're still showing this condition. It's my understanding that by code, we're required to have 15 feet of landscaping, where we're only showing 10. In the second submittal, we asked for that additional 5 feet of landscaping to be waived, and in my reading of the analysis, it is not noted as a waiver, like the north and south reduction of landscaping is noted.
While they're researching that, maybe I can ask a question, please?
Sure. Commissioner Evans?
On the parking facility, it looks like it's on the third floor. Would that, in effect, be the roof of the building?
That is the roof of the building.
Is the surface an asphalt-type surface? And the reason I ask is because I'm concerned about some of the roofs where they allow parking, which substantially add heat. Has there been any consideration of the kinds of surface or any sort of passive solar or shade structure or anything like that to reduce the heat effect?
Yes, thank you for asking, Commissioner. Excuse me. This building is actually pursuing LEED certification at the silver level. So on this third floor is, and you can see in this view, are solar panels that will shade some of that parking area. It is not an asphalt surface. This is also a concrete tilt-up building, and I would love to, if you need more information than that, I'd love to defer to our project architect, who is in the audience, who can tell you exactly what the surface of this parking lot will be, but it is not asphalt.
Thank you. And if it's not a lengthy thing, I would be curious.
Okay, thank you.
Project architect?
The applicant is referring to, in regards to the landscape. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Monica Gresser with the Richardson Partnership, 815 Pilot Road.
Very good.
The question is the surface.
That's Commissioner
parking
Evans?
surface?
Yes.
This surface is it's a polymer surface that we're applying to the top of the concrete deck, and it does not have any asphalt in it.
And there's Ms. Richardson indicated there was some solar panels that will help deflect some of the heat effect?
Correct. The color of this roof surface is a moderate, it's a light color, kind of a taupe to white color. And above the parking area, there are shade structures, and mounted to the top of that, we have the solar panels.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm looking at the design, and I'm thinking of the outstanding design of the parking structure at the Springs Preserve,
Right.
and whether or not it was something similar to that.
Very similar.
I very much appreciate your efforts at doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes my questions.
Mr. Rankin?
Mr. Chairman, the building setback requirement in the industrial area is 10 feet. In regards to the landscape requirement, the landscape requirement along right-of-ways is 15 feet. However, there is a footnote within 1912 which indicates that if the building may encroach into that, when building setbacks are less restricted, the setback shall prevail. That has been corrected, so there is no waiver needed there. The building setback applies.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you very much.
Vice Chairman Trowbridge, motion, please.
No further discussion. I make a motion in regards to item number 13, variance 29412. Make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 13. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed, with Commissioner Quinn abstaining. Item 14.
In regards to site development review 29409, make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
As amended?
As amended, yes.
Motion on the floor for approval with amended conditions. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed.
Both items go forward to council on November 5th. And just moving back one moment, item 16, the tentative map I incorrectly indicated that will go to council on November 5th. That is actually final action on the tentative map, item number 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Richardson.
Thank you.
Item 15, SUP 29206, applicant owner Las Vegas Valley Water District et al. For a 100-foot tall radio communication tower at the northwest corner of Centennial Parkway and Fort Apache Road. Sam?
Mr. Chairman, since the September 11th Planning Commission meeting, the applicant has relocated the proposed radio communication tower an additional 60 feet to the north, therefore closer to the 215 freeway. The proposed radio communication tower can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the existing and future surrounding land uses. Therefore, staff is recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Bronson Mack, 1001 South Valley View, here on behalf of the Las Vegas Valley Water District. Again, we are before you for a special use permit as stated for a 100-foot tall radio communication antenna. This antenna will serve to provide communication to and from the Water District's SCADA system in order to control this reservoir, as well as pumps that are within the facility, basically turning on, turning off, monitoring levels, letting water flow in, letting water flow out. As stated, we were here last month. It was by the direction of this board that we take this item back, hold it for 30 days, and take a look and see what we could do to possibly relocate this communication antenna a little bit closer to the 215. We've gone back and worked with our engineers and taken a look at that. We have been able to relocate this antenna approximately 60 feet to the north, which does put it a little bit closer to the 215, a little bit further away from the frontage along Centennial. On my site development plan here, I can indicate where that is. That's the new location currently being proposed. The former location was closer to the pumping station to the south. Right about there. So we are asking for your approval on this item. More than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience want to speak for or against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments from the Commission?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate the applicant relocating this or trying to attempt to do something positive with this antenna. But this property where it's located on the the height of the valley, and I just feel that this should be able to be accomplished with a shorter antenna. Several of the people out there really have concerns about the antennas being visually obtrusive and just overall problem in the character of the area. So, in the absence of a better evidence that this couldn't function at 40 feet or 50 feet within, I can't support this, but I do appreciate your effort to try and at least listen to us and mitigate it where you can.
Thank you. Any more comments?
Yes, Mr. Bronson, or
Yes,
Mr.
Commissioner.
Mack, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
Can you show me on there where the reservoir is on your display?
Right now on the site plan that you're seeing here, the top part is to the west. So if we look to the left would be the north. That's currently where the 215 is.
Okay.
The 30 million gallon reservoir basin is the large square indicated here. It is a split basin with two 15 million gallon basins individually constructed. It does hold potable water. It is a buried concrete reinforced structure. When we do the excavation, this facility will be below grade by approximately 35 to 40 feet. The top of the grade does vary as you get to the south side of the property. It is a little bit taller because obviously the basin needs to be level, whereas the property itself does slope from the north to the south.
Thank you. I remember some conversations with some of the neighbors in those areas, and they were of the impression, as was I, that the tower was going to be on the north side of your concrete tank, as close as possible to the 215. Am I remembering something wrong?
I held approximately 5 public meetings at this site with the surrounding neighbors. In all honesty, turnout to that meeting, not what I would typically like to see. We had anywhere from about 4 to 5 residents at each of those meetings. In communicating with some of those residents that were there, they did specify that they would like to see the antenna as close to the 215 as possible. In working with our engineers to try and accomplish that, we did run into some challenges. It's my understanding that from the antenna itself, we are limited by the amount of length that we have within the wires and cables without getting interference. That limit is approximately 200 feet from the base of the antenna into the facility, and then all of the additional wiring and cables that are within the facility itself, which connects switchgear and SCADA terminals to the various components within the pumping station. By relocating the antenna further to the north, we've now increased the distance that the antenna is from the pumping station, which is located to the south. And based on what I've received from our engineers, that is extremely difficult for them to do, getting it closer to the 215 than what we have now. Otherwise, we will run into interference in our ability to communicate.
So was that a yes or a no?
Well, the answer is certainly, we told the residents we would take a look at that, and we did. And in going back and working with the engineers, that was the limitation that we had.
All right, thank you.
Just before we move on, I wanted to point out that the item on the screen is actually item 15, the special use permit, in case someone watching thinks we're still talking about Big Town Mechanical. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Steinman, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I thought we were going to move it over there, too. Not being an engineer, I can't quite grasp what the difference between another 200 feet is. It would seem to me that coming off that tower, the radio signals would go to the building that's powering everything, and then it would be charged from there. I think it's logical to be on the 215 and not in the neighborhood. And maybe it doesn't need to be 100 feet because of what Commissioner Truesdale says about being way up in the valley. What did the engineers say about that factor?
According to the radio path survey, which was conducted for us by Diversified Communications engineers, they did indicate that while in theory it would seem that the signal would come directly from this site, certainly at the higher elevations within the valley, down to the lower elevations of the Las Vegas Valley Water District offices, that's not the case. The signal from this facility will go to a repeater antenna located at a higher elevation in the valley at approximately Summerlin Parkway in the 215. From there, the signal is then relayed down to the Water District offices. So from here, the signal will go uphill, hit the relay, and then be generated downhill. And based on the radio path survey, which I have a copy of and would certainly be more than willing to provide to the Commission, the engineers there stated that based solely on computer-generated path profiles and signal calculations, the result of that survey was that a 100-foot structure would be required at this site.
Well, everything seems to be wireless, your repeaters and everything, right? Until you get to the site.
Until you get to the
It has
site.
to be wired, hardwired.
It is hardwired, that's correct.
Wow.
It is hardwired at the site. And, you know, eventually we're going to be able, once we get the infrastructure in, to move forward with a fiber optic type of communication. Right now, the infrastructure just isn't there to support that.
Do we have an idea as to the distance to the nearest residence from the antennas?
From the current antenna? I would have to give you my best estimation, and I would say it would be approximately 100 to 150 feet. That's a conservative estimation.
Thank you. And the technology is such that an 80-foot antenna simply wouldn't work?
I can only go off the radio path survey that said 100. Adriana?
Hi, my name is Adriana Ventimiglia. I also represent the applicant. And we are approximately, the nearest home is about 301 feet away, because we did have to be 300 foot away from any home, and the additional 60 feet put us to 361 feet away from the homes. So it's a little more.
And in regards to the requirement for a 100-foot antenna, is that absolutely must be?
It is. It is in order for us to be able to relay to another pumping station and for that to go to our main site.
And the design of this antenna, as I understand it, is strictly a 100-foot tall steel pole, 2
It is.
foot at the base and 10 inches.
That is
at the-
correct.
No exterior improvements or whatever you want to call them, antennas.
No, none
It's all
whatsoever.
interior.
It looks like a flagpole, just skinny and straight up.
Pardon me, there is a small antenna that is at the top, that is actually the antenna at the very top.
Like 2 inches you showed?
Of the pole.
You can see it.
No, it's, I would estimate that it's probably about 3 feet, but then again, my estimation just a couple minutes ago was about half of what it should have been.
You can see one of our sites. I don't know if you can see it on the screen.
That would be the top of the antenna.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments?
Ready to make a motion?
Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Regards to item number 15, special use permit 29206, I make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
I believe I did, yes. Public hearing? Yes. I'll entertain a motion on item 15.
Again, regards to item number 15, special use permit 29206, I'd make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 15. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
And that goes forward to City Council on November 5th.
Thank you. Item 19, MSP 29350, applicant owner Centennial Durango Partners, LLC, for a major amendment to the master sign plan for a 12-foot monument sign and waivers from the Town Center Development Standards to allow a 12-foot monument sign where 8 feet is the maximum height allowed, and to allow a 2-foot sign setback where 5 feet is the minimum setback required at 6403 North Durango. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed master sign plan amendment is to allow a ground sign of the monument variety to be placed on site. The proposed monument sign will encroach 3 feet into the required setback area and will exceed the height requirement by 4 feet. Subsequently, the placement of the proposed sign will necessitate the removal of a 25-foot Mexican fan palm north of the ingress-egress point along Durango Drive, therefore depleting the required landscaping within the 15-foot landscape setback. Therefore, staff has recommended denial of this application. Staff would also like to amend condition number 3 as submitted to the clerk to read as follows. Any future amendment to the approved signage within the master sign plan which are in conformance with the Town Center Development Standards Manual may be reviewed and approved administratively by the Planning and Development Department. Staff would also like to add the following condition as submitted to the clerk. Any future signage proposed that is not covered by the previous approved actions will be subject to the Town Center Development Standards via the permitting process, and no additional amendments will be permitted to the master sign plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Tony Sless. Address is 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. If I can direct your attention to the overhead, this is an existing commercial shopping center located on the northeast corner or northwest corner of Durango and Centennial. This commercial center does not have any on-premise advertising at this time. It is true that there are some signs on the buildings themselves. As you can see from this site plan, these buildings are actually pushed up against both right-of-ways Durango and Centennial. So the signage on those buildings makes it difficult to see if you're coming from, say, down Durango, you can't see any of the building signage on Centennial. Therefore, our request to provide some an on-premise sign. As you can see right here, this is the elevation of our sign. I know in the staff report they've characterized this as an excessively tall monument sign. I think it's more akin to actually a pylon sign minus the legs that it would stand on. A monument sign, I understand, is only 8 feet in height. This is only 12 feet. A pylon sign, according to the Town Center definition, advertises multiple tenants within one project. As you can see from our sign right here, this is clearly the case. We are intending to advertise most of our tenants in this one project. So this is only 12 feet in height. A pylon sign's allowed up to 24 feet in height. So we think it's really more akin to that, and the 12 feet we don't think would be that intrusive. Additionally, we do have a request also for a setback. It's a little bit difficult to see on the site plan, so I'm going to refer to the picture right here. As you can see, within town center, we actually have, it is true that the sign is only 2 feet setback from our property line, but the sign is probably closer to 20 feet from the actual right-of-way. In the town center, you have a landscaping, sidewalk, and then more landscaping before you actually hit our property line. If you can zoom in a little bit on the site plan, I can show you exactly how this works. Right here is our proposed sign, and I don't know if this comes up in color on the overhead, but there's a red dotted line. That is actually the property line. So from the sign to the property line is only 2 feet. However, as I was saying before you actually hit the right-of-way of Durango, it's probably closer to 20 feet. Additionally, we can't really get the sign any closer because there is a little pony wall that wraps around the site. So that's our justification for only a 2-foot setback there. Be more than happy to answer any of your questions, and we respectfully request your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Celeste. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience for or against this item, please come forward.
Thank you. Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. My problem is that the sign looks like a cheap piece of crap.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing. Comments or questions from the board? Commissioners Truesdale?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I understand the applicant's request for the sign, and because this comes off the freeway where it is, if they were asking for a pylon, we'd be looking at very few changes here. And it's not a perfect-looking sign, Mr. Farlow, but it's retail, so the world is what it is these days. I would like the applicant, because I do have a concern where it sits and the visual, the potential traffic issue of people turning in and exiting the center fairly quickly, coming off the freeway, and while it's set back, people come out from behind those buildings. I would like the sign, if we are to approve it, to move it to the north at least 20 feet. That would open up the view corridor with regard to traffic safety.
But yes, I completely understand, Commissioner Truesdale, your concern. If you can see right here, there probably is almost 20 feet to the right-of-way. I did speak to our client about the potential of moving the sign further north. We're at right now, unfortunately, we can't commit to that because we're not sure for a couple reasons. One, what the dimensions will to be fit within that the pony wall there, and we may be actually sticking out into not on our property line. So I guess if that's the desire of the commission to have it pushed north approximately 20 feet, I would have to hold the item in order to see if that would if it is feasible to move the sign that far north and still be within the property. Plus, we would not be at the 2-foot setback anymore, probably be closer to 0-foot setback if we were still able to keep it all on our property line.
Can you kind of put your pin down there where you think it would be approximately if you moved it north?
This is where we are currently, and then this right here is...
I can't see that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The photo above in the picture.
Oh. Now, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Can you kind of put your pin where you would approximate that 20 feet north? Is it up near this box?
Yeah, it would be going this way. The freeway would be over here, and this would be north. And see, right here is the wall. Right here would be approximately our property line. And if you can see on the site plan here, the reason that we're able to get 2 feet there is because the wall actually curves right here. So it's pushed up as close to the curve in the wall as possible. If we remove it from this location and go 20 feet to the north, we then have some issues with where the existing wall is, the existing pony wall, as well as then the property line. So it does get narrower as
you go north.
as you go further north. So that's why I can't commit today to relocating the sign 20 feet further north, because our client has not had a chance to go out there and really survey it and see if it would fit. And then, like I said, we would now be reducing the setback even further. But I guess, and I understand Commissioner Truesdale's concern about safety. This is only a right-in, right-out. It's not full turning movements. Additionally, there is at least, I would say approximately anyways, 20 feet before you're actually at the right-of-way to make those turns. So we do think it is safe in that location, but like I said, we can't commit at this time to moving it to the north. So if it is the Commission's desire to have that done, I would have to hold it. But we think it's an appropriate location.
Thank you. Any more comments? Commissioner Steinman or Commissioner Truesdale, are you finished?
You finished? All of these tenants are basically local tenants. They all have signs on the outside. We've helped create the monster because we want the buildings on the outside of properties so nobody can see in for some reason. And I don't think a monument sign is worth a darn to these tenants. People live there, they know where they are, know Quiznos is and all that. It means very little. I think the safety issue that Commissioner Truesdale talks about is valid. And I've always said that with these signs. I don't want them too close. And if you have two cars stacked there, the second one cannot see the traffic coming. First one can. And I think that's the issue because people like to race on out when they see an opening. So if you can go back and move it back to the north 20 feet, I think that's the right thing to do. It's a shame you have to even put this out here because these people have plenty of visibility as it is on each one of their buildings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we can work this out that makes sense. I'm looking at your plan here, and whether we're 2 feet or 1.5 feet, the setback issue with all that extra right-of-way that's there, improved right-of-way, I think there is some room to work here. Whether it can be moved 15 feet or 20 feet. 20 was just a good round figure. I'm prepared to make a motion in support of this, subject to you working with staff on aligning it to the north in a placement that provides a better viewing triangle coming out of there. I think this isn't something that we need to hold and beat to death and grow old on if staff's okay with that.
We would add a condition, if I may, Chairman and Commissioner, that the sign shall be moved to the north so as to provide adequate sight distance visibility, subject to approval of P&D and Public Works staff.
And I also just want to be clear that if for some reason moving it to the north and that the setback does decrease, that's not going to create an additional problem down the road for us. That's, I think, our biggest concern is we're not sure, working with the setback, and if we encroach into...
The minimum setback would be the 2 feet that you would obtain approval of by this application. It could not fall less than that.
And see, that's exactly my concern, is that if we move it to the north, it would be less than the 2 feet. So that's why I'd love to take an approval when I can get one, but I just don't want to.
You're talking yourself out.
I know, but that's why I'm thinking I need to hold it so that I can know exactly.
I think that was the motion, or Commissioner Truesdale, weren't you indicating essentially that the applicant work with the staff, make sure we have public safety issues that are all resolved, and worst case scenario is
it won't fit.
I would recommend probably holding this just so that he can go back and make sure that it's not going to cause another application to have to be filed for another setback.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern.
Okay. 2 weeks. Mr. Truesdale, do you want to?
I appreciate. I appreciate you guys working.
I'll make
with
a
us,
motion to hold this item for 2 weeks to the October 23rd.
Motion on the floor to hold item 19 for 2 weeks. Please cast your vote.
And we'll have a better idea on a location where we can place it to the north.
Thank you. Items 20 and 21 Related items, item 20, GPA 29565, applicant owner Dibella Living Trust, from O Office to SC Service Commercial at the southwest corner of Charleston Boulevard and Pahor Road. Item 21, ZON 29566, from R1 Single Family Residential and PR Professional Office and Parking to C1 Limited Commercial. Staff?
I have property within the notice area, and so I will not be participating in this discussion.
Mr. Chairman, the applications do not meet the goals and objectives of the 2020 Master Plan nor the Rancho Land Use Study, and in addition, staff finds it's not compatible or harmonious with the surrounding area and recommends denial.
Thank you. Applicant?
Hi, good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. David Turner with Boffman and Turner Consulting Engineers. With me, I have the applicant, John DeBella, with DeBella Flowers. What we're asking for here is a change in the general plan and also rezoning for his parcels, 3 parcels at the corner of Pahor and Charleston, directly across the street from UMC. These parcels are the parcels that he currently operates his business out of now. One of the parcels is currently zoned R1, although it is serving as his storage for that facility. The other parcel is zoned PR, which is actually the office for his facility as well. So we're not encroaching any more into the neighborhood than what we are now. There's existing C1 zoning directly to the west, which wraps around us here. There's C1 zoning directly across Pahor, which serves, I believe, as a dental facility. The other parcel behind that is zoned R1, although it serves as the parking for that facility. So we think that we are consistent with what's going on up and down the street on Charleston Boulevard. We aren't encroaching any further into the neighborhood. If you could look at the aerial here, you can see where Mr. DeBella's property currently is. And those are the parcels that we're asking to be rezoned to C1. One of the parcels is currently C1 right now. In addition, Mr. DeBella owns the 2 parcels to the south, and he has not requested those in this application. He doesn't want to encroach any more into the neighborhood than he already has. His vision is to build a new building. His current building was built back in the late 50s, and what he'd like to do is put up a new facility here shortly. It will cross those property lines, so we need to have the C1 zoning there. We feel that this application will be a benefit to the area because we'll bring this up to current standards with respect to architecture and landscaping, and we ask for your approval of this application.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody audience for or against this item, please come forward. Okay. Please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record.
Joe Furcho, 3382 Southridge. The one question I have, they're asking for C1, and would this same facility be able to be built with an O for office? Or the other side of that would be, would this property be able to have something like a 7-Eleven or a fast food with a C1?
Built later on.
Okay.
These are the questions that I have.
Potentially, let me defer to staff.
Okay.
Mr. Rankin, is there any other designation other than C1 that this proposed building could be built?
In regards to the florist shop itself, the florist shop requires a commercial zoning in order to operate as a retail center. In regards to the other uses on site, one use is currently an office, the other one is a storage facility. We're not sure of the history of the storage facility itself. In regards to other uses that can occur within a C1 zoning, general retail is part of that, which would include a convenience store.
Thank you.
When I called earlier now, they said O would also be good for a flower shop. I called staff.
Okay.
Is that true or no?
Let me defer to staff. Let me defer to them.
No, it requires a C1 zoning in order to be a florist shop. General retail requires C1.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. How are you?
Hi, Tammy
Good.
Ankerman, a resident of Pahor, 1113 Pahor. I am directly across the street from his PR1 and C1 location. My only concern is that he's advocating or wanting a driveway to come straight through onto Payhor on the very south portion of his PR1 zoning and emptying out onto Payhor. He does use the driveway that is off of his PR1 zoning with his commercial vans right now. The neighbors and everyone's been congenial about it. We do have a lot of semi-trucks pull up and unload there, and commercial trash cans out in the street. But my concern would be going further into the neighborhood with a commercial driveway coming out onto the street. So those were just some concerns that we all had. So
I'll get some answers for you.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I'm confused here. Shouldn't both requests be C1 instead of one being SC?
No.
Commissioner Truesdale?
The general plan amendment was service commercial, which provides for C1. We're not going to general commercial. That's why there aren't.
That's why there's two different.
We don't have a general plan amendment called C1.
Mr. Turner, can you take us through the driveway on this proposed development?
Well, currently, Mr. DeBella has a driveway that accesses onto Payhor that his delivery trucks come in and out of. In the future, we're going to have to come in for a site development plan review, and we can address that at that time, although his facility now does use Payhor as a delivery entrance. So.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the board? Mr. Dunham?
Mr. Turner, here's my concern, is that we're doing a zone change without a site plan review. And I understand that you're showing us a future building, but the problem is once this is zone C1, it's zone C1. And so anybody could come in and do anything that's allowed within this C1 zoning district. So I'm going to have a very hard time supporting this without a site plan review, which we don't have, which means that I'm not going to support it tonight. If you were to hold this and apply for a site development review, you certainly would see my support on that. I guess since it's being held, you'll never see my support at all.
Not that he doesn't support it.
I'm going to have to go back to the other side of the podium to make a living, but you're not going to see my support tonight on this.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Commissioner Truesdale?
Would there, do you have a site plan review in the system already, or is it?
We do not yet. We've done some preliminary site plans for Mr. DeBella, and as you know, with the economy the way it is, he's kind of put that on hold for the time being. He doesn't want to expend the architecture at this point in time until things pick up a little bit, but he does plan on building at this facility. He's got kids that work at the shop, and they plan on using this as their future.
And I understand Mr. DeBella's business, and I understand this area very well. And I do, see this as a cleanup here. But I agree with Commissioner Dunham with regards to the potential that we're implying we're all on board with what you want to do when you come back with a site plan. And the site plan is really where the details are that will affect the neighbors as this goes forward. And I would hate to see us have this approved, and then you come up with a site plan we're not in support of, and then it becomes a lot more difficult. So I was going to say, if you wanted to hold this and actually get a preliminary site plan to come along with it, I think it'd be much easier for us to address the neighborhood's concerns, but also deal with the things that are important to you as well with the site.
Fine, we'll do that.
I think that's much better for the neighbors and makes it easier for us. If we can just table this item we'll table it, and then when you get the site plan together with staff, then they can reschedule the date. I don't think we need to have another public hearing on the general plan, would we?
Mr. Chairman, if the item is tabled, it will need the general plan and rezoning will have to be renoticed at the expense of the applicant.
I know the economy stinks. I wouldn't burden you with that if I didn't think it was important for us to find a way to help you with your project.
I'm just curious, basically, the site plan would encompass us having to do some architectural drawings and that kind of thing for a building that sometime in the future.
We have some standards, but they can be very minimal or they can be very elaborate, and I don't think the building you're planning on bringing forward is going to be that complex.
Elaborate, just
so I
very
think
simplistic.
you can address the main circulation issues in a brief elevation which would answer our concerns.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, real quickly, Director Wheeler, can we obey this for 2 or 3 months as opposed to tabling it and re-noticing, and that way that may save him some expense?
I would appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, that is your choice. You could do a 60-day advance.
Okay.
That'll be my motion to obey this for 60 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to obey, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote on item 20 to obey for 60 days to December 4th.
With the idea that when it comes back before us, it'll have a site plan with it, application, and that'll be able to, you can share that with the neighbor beforehand.
Absolutely.
Before we actually vote on that, because I will support the abeyance, but I would concur with my fellow commissioners about the importance of the site plan when you're making a change to the general plan on a rezoning matter. But I noticed that one of the neighbors that are most directly affected by this is standing behind you all, and my thought is, as you go through this process, you may want to keep these folks in the loop, and one of the concerns that I would have, and then when it comes forward that I'd likely be asking it, things like the garbage cans and the trash pickups and the hours of operation and anything that can be done to minimize the impact of an increased commercial space with the proximity of that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you.
I just want to say for the record, Mr. DeBella, you've ran a great business out of a very small space for many years, and you've worked wonderfully with your neighbors with so much going on, and I will support the project when it comes back forward, and I look forward to you doing 50 more years of business. And I also think you're very brave in taking this on right now, so I welcome it.
Thank you. Thank you
So
very much.
let's make sure the neighbors and you guys get together, maybe get the phone number. I would assume they could stop by the flower shop.
We're very communicative with John. I just don't want to get railroaded as a residential for commercial benefit. And my other concern, along with the neighbors, is that our residential values go down when we have commercial right there in view and across the street. Our appraisal value goes down, and it's bad enough as it is with the market. And we're open-minded. We also know that that street has a potential of going completely commercial and raising the value commercially, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we're not kicking ourselves, and we do want to be kept in the loop and have a yes or no vote as to what goes on that property.
Well, within this 60-day period, we would hope that you guys would sit down and you could put your thoughts in it and be a part of the planning process. And when you come back, hopefully all of those concerns will have worked themselves out in that 60-day period, and we will look at it and vote.
Will the neighbors be notified of a meeting like this?
We're not going to renotice it. It is, the next meeting will be December 4th,
Okay.
2008 at 6.
Mr. Chairman, the site plan review will be publicly noticed.
It will be.
And what we can do with that public notice is we have enough room on the postcard notification to include the GPA and zoning, and we will do so.
Okay.
So the applicant is only required to pay one additional public hearing notice fee of $500, and we will get a public hearing notice to all the affected residents within 1,000 feet.
So you will be noticed.
Okay, and
Thank you.
Are you planning on doing retail out of that second backside?
Ma'am, you're going to have that discussion with Mr. Dibella. Please take his number and stop by the
We're going to have a meeting.
go smell the roses. There's a motion on the floor to hold this item till December 4th. Please cast your vote.
Thank you.
And that motion has passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Items 22 and 23 are
Excuse me,
related.
if you would for a second, I'd like to also say, Sam, thanks for your service. I sure appreciate it, and I know you're respected in the engineering community, and I know you are up there as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much.
Items 22 and 23 are related. GPA 29582, applicant owner City of Las Vegas, from L Low Density Residential to PF Public Facilities at the northwest corner of Tropical Parkway and Durango Drive. Item 23, ZON 29584, from U Undeveloped to Low Density Residential to CV Civic.
Mr. Chairman, staff is recommending approval of the general plan amendment and related rezoning application, as the applications further the goals set forth by the Las Vegas Master Plan 2020 and the Centennial Hills Sector Plan in regards to open space and recreation sites. Please note that additional letters of protest have been received. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody want to speak for or against the item? Seeing none. Todd Farlow?
Just real quick, on the overhead there, it has one part of this on the other side of the main road there. Is that part? Are they going to have a bridge across there? What's the deal with that?
That's the way the existing parcel, that's the lines of the existing parcel. And
Are
that's,
they going to do anything on that
I believe not.
northeast corner, or that one? Or is that going to be something else?
If I may, Chairman?
There's a dock.
Mr. Anderson, Public Works?
I believe that the portion on the other side of Durango will be incorporated into a different project, and you'll see another piece of that project later on this agenda tonight.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Comments or questions from the board? If not, we'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of item 22, subject to all staff's conditions.
Motion on the floor for item 22 for approval. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed. Item 23.
Move for approval of item 23, subject to all staff's conditions.
Motion for approval on item 23. Please cast your vote.
Commissioners Dunham and Trowbridge, please.
And that motion has passed.
Matters go forward to council on November 5th.
Item 28, VAR 29604, applicant David Marquise, owner Marquise Family Revocable Trust, Living Trust, to allow a 3-foot side yard setback where 5 feet is required for a proposed 406-square-foot garage addition at 5001 Wild Thyme Avenue.
Hi, good evening. My name's Robin Marquis, 5001 Wild Thyme Avenue. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm asking for a 3-foot variance for a 4th-car garage for extra storage. We have 2 children. We bought this house in '02, and we planned on living here for quite a while. Noticing now as they grow older, we need a little extra space. So I would appreciate it if it would be approved.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience for or against this item, please come forward. Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Name and
good
address
evening.
for the record.
Melanie Charoux, 4935 Wild Thyme Avenue, next door neighbor, directly impacted by this project. I actually have no problem with this. I think that it would be a valuable asset to the neighborhood. It would ensure that they can put their vehicles in a garage in a safe, confining environment, and I'm just here to support her and hope that you should pass that for her. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments or questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, staff is recommending denial of this project as a self-imposed hardship. We do note additional protests.
I do apologize, Mr. Rankin.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other comments, inasmuch as the applicant has been very candid about her desires and there is no protest, and the most affected neighbor is here speaking on her behalf, I would make a motion for approval.
Motion on the floor for approval. Please cast your vote on item 28.
And the HOAs.
And that motion has passed.
And that is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Item 29, VAR 29653, applicant Siegel Companies, owner Paradise Suites LLC, to allow 6 freestanding signs, 1 50-foot freestanding and 5 5-foot tall freestanding signs where 2 are allowed, to allow a 1-foot setback for the 5-foot freestanding signs where 5 feet is the minimum required, to allow for a 50-foot tall, 504,000 square foot freestanding sign where 12 feet in height and 48 square feet in area is the maximum allowed, to allow a distance separation of less than 100 feet between freestanding to monument sign and freestanding to freestanding sign where 100 feet is the minimum required, and to allow an existing 9.5-foot tall monument sign where 8 feet is the maximum height allowed at 2,000 Paradise Road. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, there are a total of 6 deviation requests proposed as part of this variance application. All but one of the deviations pertain to existing signs that were either installed illegally or not built to plan. The 5-foot signs located adjacent to the right-of-way contain commercial messages as well as a company logo and contact information, therefore cannot be considered incidental by code and must conform to the sign standards for a freestanding sign. They, however, fail to meet the required setback from the right-of-way and the minimum distance separation between themselves, as well as with existing monument signs and the proposed freestanding sign. The existing monument sign was constructed with a permit but was built 1.5 feet taller due to the additional stone base and was never finalized by Building and Safety. The permit has since expired, making the sign currently illegal. As the submitted request is the result of a self-imposed hardship, staff cannot support this application and has recommended denial of this application. Please note additional letters of protest and support have been received. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Tabitha Fittement, 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway. With me is Mark Whitehouse of Ultrasigns, and we're here on behalf of the applicant. Before I get into the specifics of each of the variances we are requesting, because I do acknowledge the application is a bit daunting, if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to provide an explanation as to what motivated this request. The applicant has purchased a number of rundown properties within the city of Las Vegas, most of which were riddled with code violations, and frankly, they were uninhabitable. Not only has the applicant renovated the exterior of all of these apartment complexes, but they've renovated the interior. They've replaced equipment, they've exterminated pests, they've rectified all of the code violations, and they have literally turned in the most undesirable properties to ones that are now desirable and welcome additions to the community. In order to reshape the perception of these properties, and also, frankly, just to generally maintain their success, they need to advertise, and thus the application that is before you. I'd like to go through each of the signs and explain kind of the nature of the request. First is, and just kind of to orient you, if we could look at the aerial for just a moment. This property is located basically at the intersection of St. Louis and Paradise. Can we go back to the aerial for just a moment? No?
You mean the overhead?
The overhead, yeah. The aerial overhead. If not, I can put one up there.
That's another application fee.
We charge you for
we're
using our overhead.
We're at the overhead.
The beginning, the application here, I can just see. Okay. So as you can see, just west of us is Las Vegas Boulevard. St. Louis runs around the northern perimeter, and Paradise is the eastern perimeter. And obviously, our site is outlined in black. Just immediately west of us is a Carl's Jr., a couple security businesses, and basically the Carl's Jr., although a one-story building, it does mask any advertising that we would have that would face Las Vegas Boulevard. So the first request for the freestanding sign, for the 50-foot freestanding sign, would be completely behind the building there, located right here, so it would not be visible to the extent, other than to the extent that it exceeds the building height of the existing buildings, which are roughly 35 feet. It would not be visible to the neighboring residential properties to the east. It would purely be visible from St. Louis and Las Vegas Boulevard. If we followed what the code would allow, which is 12 feet, we would be basically completely masked by the Carl's Jr., which is, like I said, the building that's immediately west of us. The next variance and associated variances are for what is characterized as freestanding signs, 6 freestanding signs, which include the one I just outlined. But it also includes, because there is no other way of characterizing them in Title 19, what I refer to as amenity signs. And as you can see, if we look at that here, the amenity signs are what you see on apartment complexes all over the valley. They say things like utilities, high-speed internet access, cable, office. They are small signs, and like I said, they advertise or let the public know what sort of amenities the complex provides. So they are characterized as freestanding signs, thus all the variances that are associated with them, but essentially, like I said, they're small amenity signs that are on the property. The last is the existing monument sign. And as staff points out, the code allows for 8 feet. This sign, it does exist, exceeds what code allows by 1.5 feet. And frankly, that was a mistake on our part. As you can see, there's a stone veneer podium, if you will, that supports the sign. The sign is actually, the elevation where the sign is located is not even. It's at a slope, and so we utilize the podium to make the sign flush, and we exceeded what code allowed, and it was not caught by final permitting. So with that, that is the nature of our request. I will say that I did notice the surrounding neighborhood. There is some very active neighborhoods to the east of us, namely Beverly Green. I had a neighborhood meeting, and I'm authorized to say on their behalf that they appreciate and welcome this Eagle Group. They are thankful for what they've done to these complexes. They appreciate the renovations, and they are not opposed to the signs that we currently have, nor are they opposed to what we are proposing this evening. So with that, we'll answer questions if you have them.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak for or against this item? Please come forward.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. So they put the things up illegally, didn't get the final permits on the thing. I don't even, let's just go with this. Those apartments should see the wrecking ball, and these signs ought to go with them. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak on this item, please? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions
Yes,
from the board?
Chairman,
Mr. Evans?
I do. Is this the old Chancellor? Was it the Chancellor?
I think the Chancellor's 525 St. Louis. It's kitty corner, just north and east.
I went by today and I couldn't recall, but I wanted to thank you for some of the internal improvements that you've made to the building. I do appreciate that. But I have serious concerns about the signage. I went by, I don't know how many months ago, and I don't know how long you've owned this property, sir, but I had a number of people ask me, how in the world could we have approved some of the stuff that was hanging off the building and basically wrapping all around the fencing on the building? And one of the things that really struck out at me is almost all of the signs, or prominently displayed on the signs, were no credit check, immediate move-in, et cetera, et cetera. And the comment was, well, we're working so hard to improve our neighborhood, what kind of tenant would move into a property where they don't do a credit check, and that's their advertisement to come in and rent the property? And I was incredibly disappointed, and then I'm told, and I may be mistaken, but it was all those signs and banners were put up illegally. So I don't know whether it was a code complaint or how that came to be. But my thought is, the building, in many respects, if you put some landscaping in and continue to improve the building, because there's the interior of the parking areas and all that, I'm assuming it would be grandfathered in, but it's certainly deficient with landscaping. And I'm afraid the signs just continue to create a ghetto in waiting. I think the buildings would sell themselves if you continue to make the improvements, and that with or without all of these excessive signs, it wouldn't, in my mind, be the barometer of your success. I do note, just for, you've got one thing in here, it shows a guy in your sign I'm thinking this must be Paul Bunyan or something, because I'm sure that the sign isn't diminished in size to the guy, but I think this is just very excessive. And I'm curious as to why you're so committed to a business plan. And then my last comment, and maybe you can clarify it for me, I am familiar with and friends with and meet with frequently the members of the Beverly Green neighborhood. Is there something in writing? Because I would be perplexed if they thought that all of this excessive signage and primarily noting the no credit check feature is something that they would be pleased about. Maybe you can clarify that?
Ms. Keach?
Sure.
Fitterman?
I'm both. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I can respond to that. First, let me kind of explain the business model. Before Siegel Group acquired these properties, they were the ghetto, I guess, as you described.
Well, there's no question. There's lots of code complaints.
Right. It was definitely a problem. The management was poor, and there was a lot of illegal activity that was occurring on this site and the site that's adjacent to it to the north. They are targeting a certain demographic that, and the no credit checks, the no lease, the ability to rent a unit that is furnished for a shorter period of time as opposed to, like, say, a year, maybe 6 months or 8 months, is very vital to their business plan, and I'll explain why. They are marketing to the city center worker, to the echelon worker, to the person that comes to Las Vegas for a specific reason to work on a job. They may not be here for a year. They may not be here for 2 years. They want to be close to their place of employment because maybe they don't have, maybe they utilize public transportation. And in every other apartment complex basically throughout the valley, you have to sign a year lease, you have to, go through the credit check process, and then only after that are you allowed to lease on a month-to-month basis. And for a lot of folks, that just doesn't make sense. They're also targeting to a demographic that maybe because of their socioeconomic class doesn't have a checking account and maybe doesn't even have credit. Not to suggest that it's poor credit, but maybe just doesn't have credit because they've never been able to establish it. These people deserve a secure, clean place to live, and that there really is no other option for them in Las Vegas.
For them being who?
Those people that, like I said, that maybe don't have the credit that established.
So why not just establish that your credit criteria is a little lower than maybe others? I would argue that the employees at the city center, the construction people, make more money than I do.
That may be true.
So I don't understand. It's common sense. Mm-hmm. When you advertise a property and your sole signage is no credit check, I'm afraid it's an invitation for crackheads. You're going to have a meth lab there. Is that the kind of business model you want?
No, Commissioner, I absolutely.
I'm not suggesting you can't have an economic. You can't cater to a certain economic level, but mm-hmm. the signs itself, the signs, the stuff you have on there, which is very excessive, and I hate to, beat a dead horse, but I would agree with Mr. Farlow. They're pretty ugly, and they were illegal. They were all over the building. I don't know why you wouldn't put some trees around the building and add an additional bit of landscaping and where people would want to stay there. The no credit check thing and signs on every aspect of the building, to me, is just folly. And it's not an economic matter. It's that I think that neighborhood has worked so hard mm-hmm. to return to the glory that it once was. The people who live there are very prideful, and to the applicant's credit, they've fixed up the interior of the building. Why would you want to come forward and diminish everything that you seem to have done by, in my opinion, a flawed marketing strategy and some pretty ugly signage?
Ms. Fitterman, you want to respond to that?
I'll just say I appreciate your concerns. I think we can agree to disagree. I will say that some of the illegal signs, like the banners on the southern part of the site, part of the building, and then also the A-frame or the sandwich board frame that sits on the St. Louis side, those would come down. Absolutely.
Well, they have to. They're illegal.
Right.
They're not up there permitted.
I'm just acknowledging that and letting you know that they would come down.
Vice Chairman Trowbridge?
Yeah, I appreciate your acknowledgement that those signs, particularly the one that's shown on the screen now, are going to come down, because I think that does cheapen the entire project. I think while the content of the signs is something that we really can't control, perhaps 6 on this size of a parcel might be a little excessive. Something like 4 would be a little more tolerable. The net impact of that is that you have to pick out the 4 most important marketing issues, and the rent and the free internet and free utilities and furnished sound to me pretty important. The other concern to me is the height of the larger sign that's going to be facing the west, right behind what I understood to be a 35-foot tall building.
It's a one-story building. The
It's a
Carl's
one-
Jr., our building is 35 feet.
There's the one that's on the northwest corner. That's where you intend to put the 50-foot tall, yes.
Yes, so you're right, this building is 35 feet. I understand what you're saying. The building that it would be behind is 35 feet.
And I would hope that there would be some kind of compromise position that would be available there. To have that be a full 50 feet seems a little overkill. What, the back of those apartments there, they have the windows that look out on Las Vegas Boulevard or on the fast food restaurants that's there now, or do they have just windows coming out of the showers? Or
Yeah, it's basically, it basically looks like this on the other side.
We can't see that. Point to it
Oh,
again.
excuse me.
Now we do.
Yeah, basically looks like
Okay,
this.
so
this is
if-
facing south, that's north, and this is facing east.
Okay, so if that large sign that's being requested was reduced in height somewhat,
Mhm.
it really wouldn't adversely affect the marketing nor the view of the homes that are there or their light.
No, we appreciate that, Commissioner, and that makes sense. It wouldn't, also it wouldn't adversely impact the neighbors. It wouldn't be
Yeah,
visible.
It would be less intrusive of a
So a reduction,
slower.
maybe so as to be consistent with the building height of the building, so 35 feet possibly.
That makes a big difference to me.
Okay. Would anybody like to speak on this item? Commissioner Steinman?
Yeah, go ahead. If we go to 35 feet, I don't think we ought to be at 504 square feet. That's a monster sign at 35 feet.
Okay.
And you have wonderful visibility on Las Vegas Boulevard at about 80 feet above Las Vegas Boulevard, which is your best signage you have. And this sign that's going to be on the northwest corner is only going to be good for one direction, towards the stratosphere. That's it. Because otherwise, you're coming around a curve, you'll never see that sign. So it's a wasted sign in that regard, and people in St. Louis are not looking for your place at all, coming from St. Louis. So the sign really needs to just be there for those people over near the stratosphere to be able to look through and see that your suites are right there. Now, I don't know how long you plan to have your 80-footer out on Las Vegas Boulevard. Yes, it's an 80-foot billboard that hangs over the building that's right on Las Vegas Boulevard. Does he acknowledge it's there?
The off-premise sign that's there?
Well, I know that there's several billboards all over the
Oh,
city.
well, there's one right by your property.
Can you put your name and address on the record for us?
Yeah, certainly.
That microphone's, you're fine right there, the mic's
Okay,
live.
My name is Mark Whitehouse, 10 Research Lane. I'm with Ultra Signs. I'm the sign company.
okay.
As much as I would love to be the gentleman who,
She
does,
kind of let us know you were the person, so
No.
we're going after.
I understand. I would like to field a couple of your concerns, though. If we were to reduce the sign to a 35-foot sign, the sign proportionally would reduce in square footage as well.
Oh, yeah.
Most
Oh, yeah.
definitely. And as far as the, facing Las Vegas Boulevard, obviously, with Main Street coming up into that intersection as well, it's a major thoroughfare, very important to advertise.
I understand,
that
but
from
it's only a
even branding
one-directional.
standpoint.
It's only a one-directional sign, basically. It does no good to people on Paradise because they're on a curve. It does no good. They've already seen the whole property, and they went by it. So the real direction should be to Las Vegas Boulevard.
Well, the main orientation is to Las Vegas Boulevard, but Paradise is a heavily traveled road. You do come around, try to catch Main, you can catch Las Vegas that way. Coming from the convention center, coming down even, as far as Gordon Biersch and that whole Howard Hughes area, you can catch Las Vegas Boulevard to Main.
I can't agree with you on a curve.
I'm just
On a
saying,
curve.
it is.
That's the problem.
You do curve around, but you do see the sign.
Okay. And I don't think it should be over 200 square feet when you bring it down, in proportion to what that building is. because 500 is a monster up there on top, and 400 is a monster. So I think you've got to come down in size, and we're going to go to 35 feet, which is the height of that building.
But what is the standard size of a 35-foot tall sign?
You know, I'm trying to rack my brain right now and think about it. I think a 40-foot, because we've done a 40-foot design, and I believe that came down around, I want to say 14 feet wide by, I want to say maybe 18 and a half high. So in reality, your figure, you're not far off, proportionally speaking. I think we're going to be in the low twos or right there around two, to be quite frank, because every sign does reduce proportionally.
Otherwise, you're hanging out.
No,
the
your
street.
comments are spot on.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It wouldn't even. It would look funny.
It would. It would be out of proportion.
Yeah, it would not be right.
So if we could get an agreement at 35 and 200 or something like that, 250, whatever you need,
we'll
I think
certainly
that'd be
submit
good.
new drawings on that.
I'm a shade confused, because I did look at this today, and I need to make one disclosure. I do own property in the area along Paradise. The best I can see by the diagram in our backup, it's outside the notice area, so I will vote on this. But in talking to Ms. Finman earlier today, the issue of the sign, because you have another application that was held tonight for a building directly across the street for a fairly large sign on a wall sign. I mean, I know people are coming up Main, people are coming up Las Vegas Boulevard, but the only kind of business that needs this kind of signage is if you're a fast food restaurant, and I know you're not renting hourly, as I understand.
Absolutely not.
So I don't understand the ultimate need for the signage. We have a code, I think we have a monument at one height, we've got a 24-foot pylon sign that fits within our code. I don't see us, if you're marketing to the people up and down the Strip, an off-street location, I could see apartments 4 blocks east of there wanting a 100-foot sign, so the guy on Las Vegas Boulevard might find that there's an apartment there. I just don't think that's the plan. Your amenity signs, as you described them, while I have a concern that we don't have a specific classification or control of them, they aren't obtrusive, and they are surprisingly customary to most apartment projects. So I think that's appropriate. The 2 feet on the one sign, you're the sign guy, you're a contractor. If you made the mistake, you should fix it. But is it obtrusive? Is it a dangerous sign for us? No. So I think that's reasonable. I can't support a 35-foot sign. I couldn't support the 50-foot sign because I don't think a customer is walking down Las Vegas Boulevard. And if they're riding the Deuce, looking for apartments, that's probably not the customer that's going down there right now as well.
Wait a minute now.
Well, if they're on the Deuce on the second level, they'll be able to see a 12-foot sign. I just don't.
You got to have a credit check to get on the Deuce.
And I know we don't. We do have a policy in the city of Las Vegas not to legislate content, but it was recently brought to my attention that we do have code issues within the city, actually standing codes within the city of Las Vegas, that for daily, weekly, quite motel apartment type deal, that the word free is an illegal term. Free utilities is an illegal term, free cable is an illegal term, free laundry, free pool, free telephone, all these things wind up being illegal terms. And I'd like the city attorney to, he was looking into that.
Want me to chime in on that one?
Yes, please.
It's recently brought to our attention that LVMC 6.46.110 regulates certain statements on outdoor signs. I had not been aware of that until Commissioner Truesdale had pointed that out to me. I'm a little concerned about it. I think we need to do a little further research as to why that was placed in the municipal code. I can't really, talk about it at this point because I haven't had the chance to research it. So normally I tell you that you can't regulate content, and out on off-premise signs. So as it pertains to commercial speech, I'll need to do a little bit more research before I can let you know whether or not that's permissible.
Well, regardless of the content, I think the message, though, is real clear. In my opinion, it's excessive. And I just, I sure would like to see you just improve the site plan with additional landscaping. And my thought is, there's a need for rental housing. I think you could fill that place. I just don't think it's done with excessive signage. This application, I don't think, would be approved almost anywhere else in the city, in the other wards. And I don't understand why this ward, where these people are so prideful, has to bear the brunt of it. It's for 5 signs. It's a 50-foot sign. It's setbacks. There's a lot here, and it won't see my support. I don't want to be unreasonable, but I think the application is unreasonable on its face. It's just way too excessive. And staff recommends denial. It doesn't meet the code, and maybe there's some way we can minimize it or be reasonable in terms of signage. But 5 signs and a 50-foot sign for an apartment building just doesn't cut it in my mind.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think what I'm hearing, it's loud and clear that not only by staff but also by this board that the application is excessive. And so maybe if there was a desire on a part of one or any of the commissioners to support at least some of the variances, like there was a suggestion that maybe the pylon sign that exists is not excessive, the 1.5 feet, and maybe a reduction in the freestanding sign, maybe a reduction in the number of freestanding signs with a condition to remove the illegal signs, that it might be more palatable for this commission. So
I'm prepared to make a motion that may address a lot of these concerns and see where it goes.
Any more questions or comments? We will entertain a motion.
Here's what I'd like to do, because I have heard what Commissioner Evans has raised. I don't have a problem. I'll make a motion to approve the existing pylon sign, I guess, monument sign at its current location and height. Move for approval of 4 of the smaller, amenity signs, and the city attorney can check to the content issue, but that's not an issue today. And make a motion for approval of a 12-foot sign on the St. Louis frontage. I think for the traveling customer, that would meets the appropriate marketing for this. And then there's no question any of the illegal signs have to be removed immediately. But that's my motion.
If I may to clarify, that's the existing 9.5-foot monument sign.
Right.
To be allowed to
stay.
Right. And that a 12-foot high freestanding sign on the St. Louis frontage.
Right.
A new 12-foot high.
Delineate square foot.
Well, once it gets that small, it's got to be reduced.
I know, but we ought to delineate.
Yep.
I couldn't be prepared to tell you what that square footage should be based on the code.
12 feet and 48 square feet is the standard, correct? So
Okay, that would be
meet,
12 feet
okay?
and 48.
12-foot high and 48 square feet. And then, I'm sorry, the 4 of the...
There's 5 amenity signs. I
Okay.
would recommend that we allow 4 of them. I think that they can be spaced, that removes the clutter, and...
Do we have to delineate the distance between them, or?
I would leave it up to the applicant to work with staff, if that's appropriate.
And then remove all illegal?
Well,
That's
the code
without-
requires a removal of illegal signs without action by this commission. So the action, again, to repeat, the existing 9.5 foot high monument sign to remain in its current location, 4 of the 5 amenity signs approved, and a new 12-foot high, 48 square foot sign on the St. Louis frontage. Location of the amenity signs and St. Louis sign to be approved by the P&D staff.
Yes.
Applicant, you in agreement?
We can accept the suggestion, absolutely. I want to consult with my client, but I appreciate what your concerns are, and we have to move forward to City Council, so.
There's a motion on the floor for approval with the amended conditions as read in by Director Wheeler. A yes vote is for the approval. Please cast your vote on item 29. That motion has passed.
That goes forward to council on November 5th.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Item 31, applicant Alpha Omega Strategies, owner City of Las Vegas, to allow a 4-foot setback on the north and south property lines where 10 feet is required on the west side of Decatur Boulevard south of Vegas Drive. Related item 32 and 33. Item 32, VAR 29654, applicant Alpha Omega Strategies, owner City of Las Vegas, to allow a reduction of 34 parking spaces for 45 senior citizen apartments on the west side of Decatur Boulevard south of Vegas Drive. Item 33, SDR 29651, for a major amendment to an approved site development review, SDR 27965, to increase the number of residential units from 416 to 461 within an additional floor with no additional height, with waivers to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer along a portion of the north perimeter where 8 feet is required, and to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer along a portion of the south perimeter where 6 feet is required. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, item number 31 actually was noticed as an unrelated item to number 32 and 33, but either way, since they're open, the requested setback encroachment in regards to variance 29657 will have a negligible effect on the adjacent commercial center to the south and commercial property to the north. Staff is in support of the proposed deviation from standards and recommends approval of that application. Additional letters and protests of support have been received for that application. Additionally, the subject site is that of a previously approved 11-story, 416-unit senior apartment development with 56,150 square feet of commercial and 47,700 square feet of government facility, a fire station, and a park. The proposed modifications will further the goals of the Las Vegas Master Plan 2020 in achieving attainable, affordable senior citizen housing. Therefore, staff is in support of the proposed major amendment and related variance application. Please note that additional letters of protest and support have been received. Thank you.
Applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Michael McDonald, Alpha Omega Strategies President, 4908 Carmen Boulevard. I thank you for your time, and I thank staff for the recommendation. Here tonight, we're back before you with the Affordable Senior Complex, which you've seen before and which you've approved, and we thank you for that. Went before council, was also approved. The slight deviation we came back with, it's actually housekeeping on our end, and working with Councilman Barlow's office, and he had about, I think, 12 neighborhood meetings with this regarding this property. Where we got the extra floor, we didn't create something out of space. We're putting in a 3-bay battalion fire station here, a critical infrastructure that's been needed, and I think it's been on the books since 1993. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's one of the infrastructures. That's where the height came back, and that's where we also got the additional floor for the additional rooms. So we're trying to meet all the needs of the HUD, and speaking with Ken Levine from HUD, our director here in the City of Las Vegas, Clark County of Clark. There's a massive need for senior citizens, housing, especially with the economy the way it's turning now. We have many of our senior citizens, I know I'm preaching to the choir, many of our senior citizens right now that are on fixed income, and the times are getting worse. As we're going through the housing market, people are moving out, they're moving into apartments that are for senior citizens. So this is a critical need, and we'd like to get underway and respectfully ask for your approval. If there's any questions I can answer.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing on item 30. Anybody would like to speak for or against this item? Or item 31? Mr. Farlow?
I'll speak out. I concur with staff and Mr. McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farlow.
Thank you. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments, questions from the board? Commissioner Steinman.
Mr. McDonald, would you explain the variance 29654 that allows 34 spaces for 45 senior apartments? Why has that been divvied out?
So that falls in within, The seniors we're building for right now really don't have a lot of vehicles, sir. The senior population, if you go by any of the current ones right now that are run by the Las Vegas Housing Authority, that's kind of our market we're going for right now, or Clark County Housing Authority. There's several spaces. We're following guidelines of the city of Las Vegas' staff, and that's how come when we came back with the deviation from the parking.
Well, I understand that, because I agree with that philosophy. But is this 34 spaces for every 45 apartments? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, sir. It's for the extra rooms that we've added.
Oh.
I apologize.
That's why I couldn't figure out, what are we doing with these?
I apologize.
Okay. All right. I'm with you now. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any more comments from commissioners? Vice Chairman Trowbridge?
Ready for a motion?
I am.
Regards to item number 31, the variance 29-657, make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 31. Please cast your vote.
Commissioner Steinman, please.
And that motion has passed. Item 32.
Regards to item number 32, variance 29-654, make a motion for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 32. Please cast your votes. And that motion has passed. Item 33.
And in regards to item number 33, site development review 29-651, make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 33. Please cast your votes. And that motion has passed.
All matters go forward to council on November 5th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Commissioner Denham, it's been a pleasure. I know you've heard many accolades, but I'm telling you, from one side of the bench to the other, you've definitely served our community well, and you're well respected. And we look forward to having you on this side. It's not as bad as on this side as I thought it was going to be, but we welcome you on our side over here now.
All right, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you and your staff also.
You did a wonderful
Mr.
job,
Henry.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take a brief recess, about 10 minutes here. Thank you.
Staying healthy and everything? Healthy, wealthy, and wise?
Mr. Evans.
Good to see you. Hopefully see you Christmas again. Okay.
Jay, have a good night. Take care. Your coach could be around next year, what? I don't know, man. We're playing. You going down again? I thought about it. I'm supposed to play at Oregon State. We were here. We were here watching the game. Oh, it's pretty. I had it. And then we were able to lose. We could still have it.
See you later. Have a good night.
Good to see you. How are you? Usually I would see ahead of time. He says, no, I said, wait a minute. But they Can you do that? No, it's legal.
Yes, it is. I'm beating my boyfriend right now.
I suppose, What do you mean? Oh, this time to be. Oh, I didn't realize that. Your name is still on down. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't get the point. Okay. Oh, I'm good. You know who you're with? You know who I think you should talk to her. I think you should talk to her. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think you'd say I don't know. Issue over whether or call. No, I'm not calling. I said I don't know. What you done? What you done? You're not going to crush. You're not going to do vinegar crush with your goddamn like that. That's what I would do. I just didn't know what it was. I think it is. I think it is. Right now, she just said, please, these difficult financial times. I think right. Where's he say? Where's this? Where's the worst thing he says is, I didn't know. Yeah, that he used that. I think you can get square to it. It's good for him. So he doesn't even know the answer. What was wrong with this one? Somebody right? Assembly or which one? Democrat or Republican? Nobody, I don't know. Is it a Democrat district or is it a Republican?
I think it's a little more Democrat right now.
So she was the primary?
And I think she's doing very well. She's going door to door every day.
Who's running against her?
Hotel California.
That lady's name.
That's good.
I got nothing to think about Smart young lady.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Doing very well.
Good.
Brown? Always a pleasure.
One of the firefighter in Houston, the other one was a couple of cleaning practice. One was an architect, the other was a president of Soccer in Boston. One of the ones in the milk company. So, yeah, one of these in Houston. Here we go, right after I told my wife I leave, check in at the FEMA trailer. You don't know. I don't care.
Ladies last 4 or 5 years, I know. Vivian.
I'd like to call the meeting back to order, please. We'll begin with item 34. Item 34 and 35 are related items. Item 34, SUP 29146. Applicant Narissa Thomas, owner Larry D. and Narissa L. Thomas for a proposed truck rental use at 3700 North Rancho Drive. Item 35, SDR 29787 for a proposed truck rental use with chain link fence and a waiver of all landscaping requirements. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, in regards to the site development plan review, the applicant does not meet the standards for Title 1912 regarding landscaping and fencing material, and staff does recommend denial. In addition, the special use permit cannot be conducted in a harmonious manner as the site plan doesn't meet the minimum standards, and also recommends denial. Please note that there are a couple errors within the staff reports regarding approvals. Please note those are denials. Additional protest was received after printing.
Thank you. Staff or applicant?
Hi, this is Narissa Lee Thomas, 6500 West El Campo Grande Avenue. When we applied for the special use permit, we became aware of needing the paving, which we agreed to do after getting estimates and finding how costly it would be. Then when we were required to do a site development review, I sort of felt like it would be too hard to comply with all of the landscaping and fencing, bringing it all the way up to code, since we've been there since '91. However, since filling out all the application and everything, I have been talking to a landscaper, and I have a design plan, if we can put it on the overhead, to where we could improve.
That needs to be submitted for us to, I mean, we can take a look at it, but we can't.
Has staff seen that?
We can't design it at the podium.
I talked to a staff member on Tuesday, and he said I could redraw it and bring copies. Yes or no?
So staff has not seen it?
No.
Okay.
No, staff has not reviewed those plans at this time.
So we wouldn't be able to, we can't design it at the podium.
I see.
It needs to go through staff's approval process.
So what do we do?
Hold it, and hold the item, and you could submit that to staff,
Okay.
And then we could hold it for how long? 2 weeks?
That would be great.
Okay.
That would be plenty.
Thank you. There's a request to hold item 34. Motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, you can do both at the same time if you'd like.
Well,
You can hold
I'll
both
make a
at the
motion
same
to hold
time.
both items
Okay.
for 2 weeks.
Motion on the floor to hold items 34 and 35 for 2 weeks. Please cast your vote.
So moved.
That motion,
Thank you.
and that motion has passed. Thank you, ma'am. Item 36, SUP 29450, applicant Walmart Stores, Inc., owner WRI Charleston Commons, LLC, for a 129,515 square foot retail establishment with accessory packaged liquor off sale at 201 North Nellis Boulevard. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds that this use can be conducted in a compatible and harmonious manner with the surrounding area and recommends approval. Please note, additional protests have been received after printing.
Thank you. Mr. Larson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Larson, 300 South 4th Street, representing the applicant. This is simply an additional amenity to an existing Walmart store. They're expanding the grocery section to include not only additional produce, that sort of thing, but additional amenities such as alcoholic beverages. So in that way, it won't be anything more than very similar to your local supermarket. So we're in agreement with all staff conditions and would appreciate your approval tonight.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience want to speak for or against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Motion or comments by the board?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other comments, I'll make a motion for approval, subject to staff's conditions.
Motion for approval of item 36. Please cast your votes. That motion has passed.
Go to council on November 5.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Item 37, SUP 29529, applicant Southern States Sign Company, owner Berhuz Faridian, for a proposed 40-foot-high, 10.5-foot by 36-foot off-premise sign digital billboard at 591 North Eastern Avenue. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds that the proposed use is not compatible or harmonious with the surrounding area, nor does it meet the goals of the city of Las Vegas, and recommends denial. Please note, we have received additional protests.
Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening. Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street, representing the applicant. The applicant, as you heard, is requesting a special use permit for a proposed 40-foot-high, 10.5-foot by 31-foot off-premise digital billboard. Although the proposed billboard is located, as staff stated, within the boundaries of the Las Vegas redevelopment district, we are asking for no waivers, and our application meets all of the conditions of Title 19, and I stand corrected, but to the best of my knowledge, I believe there are other billboards located within the redevelopment district. Most billboards have a face, thank you, most billboards have a face of 672 square feet. Our proposal is only for approximately 378 square feet. This is a new building, and the owner would not put a billboard on his property if he thought it was going to be a detraction. Unfortunately, these are tough times, and the property owner needs more rent money, and he's, again, not asking for any waivers. We ask for your approval.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to speak for or against this item, please come forward.
Thank you, Rod Farlow, 240 North 19th Street, and finally, it looks like we've come to a sign that looks like I can go along with. Is there a picture of this sign someplace?
For a fee, we could get yours up there.
And it's going to be digital, right?
Yes, sir.
Puts me on that, and we're in business.
That says it all. No problem now.
We'll close the public hearing. Comments and questions from the board?
See, I'm ready if there's no discussion.
Vice Chairman Trowbridge?
In regards to item number 37, special use permit 29529, make a recommendation for approval, subject to all staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 37. Please cast your vote. That motion has passed. That motion has
Thank you very
passed.
much.
Goes forward to council November 5th.
Thank you. And Mr. Dunham, thanks for the memories.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, appreciate it.
Item 38, SUP 29655, applicant owner Rustam Rouhani and Shanaz Trust for a proposed financial institution specified with waivers to allow a 100-foot distance separation from a residential parcel where 200 feet is required, and to allow a 765-foot distance separation from another financial institution specified where 1,000 feet is required at 625 North Lamb Boulevard, Suite 110. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, the location of the proposed financial institute specified fails to meet the special use permit minimum distance separation requirements from a residential property and from a similar use. Therefore, staff has recommended denial of this application. Furthermore, staff would like to amend condition number 2 as submitted to the clerk to reflect the deletion of special use permit SUP 29655. Please note additional letters of protest have been received for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Lenny Scar, 3753 Howard Hughes Parkway, representing the applicant. I do have some letters here that I would like to pass out. The owner of this property has a signed letter of intent from the Dollar Loan Center, which would provide a service of small personal loans up to $2,000, which are not usually provided by traditional banks. The other financial institution specified that is within our separation distance requirement is located within the Albertson Supermarket, catty corner across the intersection of Bonanza and Lamb, and that is primarily a little like a kiosk-type facility where one can cash their paycheck so they can pay for their groceries, buy stamps, mail a package, etc. So the services provided by the two different financial institutions specified would not overlap or contribute to saturation in this area. The other waiver we are requesting is for a separation distance from the existing residences. If we could go back to the aerial photo, please. You will see that the existing residences, while they are within the 200-foot separation distance, are kind of, I can't really say catty corner, but okay. On the opposite side of Lamb, the east side, and then north of the building. So the windows and the actual space that would be occupied by this business aren't even directly across the street. Lamb is a 100-foot right-of-way. There are 7 lanes, 3 in each direction, plus a suicide turn lane down the middle. This would not have any flashing lights or inflatable purple gorillas on top. You can see how the building is painted. There's no intention to come back and have it be fuchsia with, flashing gold trim. So this is our proposal, and I ask for your support.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience would like to speak for or against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments, questions from the board? If not, we'll entertain a motion on item 38.
I'll make a motion on SUP 29655, which is agenda item 38. I'll move for approval subject to conditions, but you changed one condition.
Number 2.
Number 2, as amended by staff.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 38 with amendment to condition number 2. Please cast your vote. That motion has passed.
Goes to council on November 5th.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Item 39, SUP 29656, applicant Metro PCS, Nevada LLC, owner Highland Partnership 1980 LP, for a proposed co-location of antennas on an existing 60-foot tall wireless communication facility, non-stealth design at 1111 Desert Lane.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed co-location of additional antennas of a non-stealth design will create additional visual intrusion into adjacent properties and an oversaturation of arrays within the area, as a wireless communication facility of stealth design exists approximately 400 feet from the subject site. As such, staff has recommended denial of this application. Please note additional letters of protest have been received for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Yes, William Daly, 500 Migo Court, Suite 130, representing Metro PCS. Metro PCS is a wireless carrier that's launched in the Las Vegas market earlier this year in March, and we're looking for coverage in this neighborhood. We're looking to co-locate on an existing tower. The tower currently is a monopole with flush-mounted antennas for T-Mobile. We would be doing a similar installation below the existing antennas. The equipment would be going alongside the compound that T-Mobile currently occupies, and we're looking to blend in as much as possible. The area in question is a highly traveled area alongside the 15 freeway at basically the corner of Martin Luther King and Charleston. In that area, there were not a lot of options. In reading the staff report, it's the first time I've been made aware of the stealth site that's 400 feet to the northwest of the site. I know there's a building with antennas on the roof of it, which was not interested in taking on any other carriers. UMC Medical Center has some antennas on top of that. Of the area that we saw, this was the most likely candidate to have the least visual impact. We're asking for an SUP approval so that we can provide coverage in this area.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the board? Commissioner Steinman.
Isn't this the area that a year or so ago we turned down 5 towers, if I recall? Or it was billboards? And, yeah, it was a clutter issue, obviously. Are we adding to clutter when we add on the poles that are non-stealth? That becomes the question here. And I believe we are when we do this.
Thank you. More comments from the board? Vice Chairman Trowbridge?
The original proposal had a requirement that the footprint not exceed 50%, and this one is larger. How much larger is the footprint of this with the
additional ground space?
The additional ground.
Our additional ground area
compound
is 10 feet by 13.33 feet, so an additional 130 square feet.
Will it be totally screened so it's not visible from the street?
Yeah, block wall will match it up to what T-Mobile has done. Basically, T-Mobile, there's an alley alongside the existing building that T-Mobile occupied the back end of. We'll just be occupying the further up on that, matching it up as to the T-Mobile site.
And this pole currently has a whole set of, has 3 antennas on top of it, now you're just going to have another set of 3.
Correct. Matter of fact, I don't know if you can see these, but I have photo simulations of the before and after shot of what it would look like that we prepared for this.
We can see it. We can see them. Do you want to point them out?
Sure. This is currently how it looks. This would be the additional antennas. This is taken from the, I believe it's Carl's Jr. parking lot. Unfortunately, you can't really take them from the east side of the freeway there because the freeway gets in the way. And then a little bit further down the road on Charleston, and as you can see, this is as it exists, and this would be the impact of the additional set of antennas.
Wow. Thank you. No more comments or questions. We'll entertain a motion on item 39.
I'll make a motion on number 39, SUP 29656. I'll move for denial.
No, could you show me as a no vote on that? No for the denial. Or do we need to clear and go ahead and revote it? Yeah, let's go ahead and clear the board and then revote. There was a motion for denial on item 39. A yes vote is for the denial. And that motion has passed.
And that is final action in the absence of an appeal to the office of the city clerk within 10 days.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item 40, SDR 29641, applicant owner Ace of Hearts Property LLC for a proposed two-story, 5,219 square foot building, maintenance, service, and sales structure at the northeast corner of West Lone Mountain and Serene Drive. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, this application meets all the development standards of Title 19, and staff recommends approval. Please note there have been additional protests received.
Thank you. Applicant?
Casey Camus Architect, 5125 West Aquendo, representing the owner.
You in agreement with all conditions?
Yes, and we're asking for no waivers.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience want to speak for or against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments or questions on item 40 or either a motion?
I have a question prior to a motion, and that is what happened as a result of the field check on September 2nd, where the chain link fence was noted and the trash bin was outside of the fencing. Have those items been corrected?
I'm not aware that they've been corrected, but we will turn them over to code enforcement for action.
Thank you. Entertain a motion on item 40.
Okay. Well, hopefully code enforcement would get the items corrected before it goes before the city council, but aside from that,
this won't go to council.
This is our approval. Okay. Site development review 29641. Make a recommendation for approval.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 40. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed.
And that is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days, and as indicated by staff, the property maintenance problems will be turned over to our code enforcement division.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 41, SDR 29662, applicant The Siegel Group, owner Gold Spike Holdings LLC and Plug It In 2 LLC for an exterior modifications, proposed pool cabana addition, and parking reduction to an existing hotel casino with waivers of the downtown Centennial Plan, streetscape standards, and parking lot screening standards at the northwest corner of Ogden Avenue and Las Vegas Boulevard. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing several modifications to the subject site, which include exterior building improvements and new landscaping. The proposed project fails to meet several downtown Centennial Plan streetscape standards, including sidewalk width, parking lot screening, and the number of and type of plant materials. Therefore, staff has recommended denial of the site development plan review. Furthermore, staff would like to revise condition number 3 as submitted to the clerk to reflect building elevation date stamped 9/29 of 08. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fidelman?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Tabitha Fitteman, 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. If I could direct your attention to the overhead. The subject site is outlined in black, and as you can see, with the exception of the city's parking garage and the city's television station, the applicant basically owns the entire block. Their intention within the next, I would say, 5 years, is to completely redevelop this block. They've actually had discussions with the City of Las Vegas about acquiring the TV station so they would have a more square-type parcel. But they, like I said, their intention is to ultimately completely level and redevelop this area to a new resort hotel casino. However, as we're all painfully aware, the market does not allow for that right now. The Travel Inn, which exists on the site, and the Gold Spike is currently operating. The Travel Inn is not. It's been vacant for several years now. It's a blighted property, very run down. And so what the applicant would like to do is, while they're waiting for the market to recover, they'd like to infuse some capital into the project. They've already begun redevelopment of the Gold Spike. It's scheduled for opening sometime towards the end of this year. And they'd also like to incorporate and utilize the rooms that exist at the Travel Inn. So thus our request. So specifically what they're proposing to do, this is the existing Gold Spike Hotel and Casino, existing parking lot here, existing parking lot here. Here is the Travel Inn. They're proposing to add, well, first of all, completely facelift the Travel Inn, repaint, add new fixtures, add new carpet, add new windows, add new doors. It will look like a completely different building. They are proposing to add a pool and cabanas, not permanent structures, but a pool area. They're proposing to add a courtyard area here with landscaping so that there is some sort of exterior connection to the Gold Spike and the Travel Inn, so that you could basically check in at the Gold Spike, and if we were full on rooms at the Gold Spike, you could stay at the Travel Inn. You could also, if you were visiting the Gold Spike, utilize the amenities that we'd be adding to the Travel Inn site. They're actually also proposing to add additional landscaping to resurface and improve the parking lots. You have approved a vacation of the alley, so they will be undergrounding the existing utility lines within the alley ultimately. And they're proposing to add a perimeter wall, which would be located here, here, and here, and mainly that is intended to provide some privacy for the pool area and for the courtyard area. So now to the variances. As I said, we are using existing buildings. We are utilizing existing off-site improvements. I appreciate staff's concern regarding our noncompliance with Centennial plans, but we are trying to not really redevelop the entire site, but revitalize what exists there. So while if we were leveling it and we were asking to redevelop the site to a new resort hotel casino, I could appreciate the request to comply with the Centennial plans, but we're trying to do something here that would clean up the existing properties. So let me go through the variances. First, with the number of shade trees. We're asking for 12, I think the staff report says 11, but our records show 12, where 15 is required. We would be happy to provide 15 shade trees, and actually I'll state for the record now, we'd also be happy to provide 36-inch box as opposed to 24, so we can eliminate that variance. The problem is the spacing. We could cluster them, but then we'd be asking to vary from your code with respect to the spacing. So really, we have no problem providing the requested number of trees. It's just a matter of how we vary the code due to existing conditions. With respect to the date palms versus the Mexican fan palms, your code requires date palms, and frankly, date palms are at least $1,000 per palm. The Neonopolis, the Streamline, and also down the center of Las Vegas Boulevard have incorporated both Mexican fan and date palm. So if we did plant Mexican fan, we would be entirely consistent with what has developed around us. And like I said, we have absolutely every intention of complying with your code when we come back and completely redevelop this site. And lastly, with respect to the parking lot screening, because of the existing curb cuts, as you can see here, we would be screening this. This is already screened right here by the parking garage, but because of the existing curb cuts, you'd have small areas of wrought iron fence. So we don't think that, based on what we have to deal with today, that makes much sense. We are completely improving the perimeter. We're going to have a great new, your DRC just approved a sign plan, a sign package for the project that's quite impressive, and we'll have a new neon sign that complies with the Las Vegas Boulevard signage requirements here. And so we definitely will be improving the overall look of the property, but we don't think at this point in time that the parking lot screening makes sense. So with that, I would respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody want to speak for or against this item?
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. My concern is, if we let them have this patch and mend, we'll never get the redevelopment done. I have a question for Dr. Scott. Is it possible to say, to give them a time frame on this, say like, we'll accept this for, say, a period of whatever, 5, 6 years, and then it goes away? Is that possible?
To complete the project or the approval?
No, after it's completed in that, we'll let this stand for 5 or 7 years, and then we want it redeveloped.
No.
You can't do it? So if it's approved, then we're stuck with it forever, possibly. Then we shouldn't approve it.
We'll close the public hearing. Comments or questions from the board?
If I may, just some changes to
Director Wheeler?
conditions based upon the testimony of the applicant's representative. Condition number 3 would be changed, condition number 1 needs to be changed to delete the phrase "if approved." Condition number 3 changed to show the dates as 9/29/08. Condition 5 would be deleted because the applicant has indicated the 36-inch box for what they are providing is what they will do. And condition number 7 would be amended to show the 12 trees where 15 are required. I believe that concurs with what the applicant has indicated.
Yes.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions from the board?
I'm not
Commissioner Evans?
entirely clear what I'm voting on. Once again, I applaud the applicant for wanting to redevelop the property. But I would agree that essentially we're approving a pretty substandard site plan. And I don't know how to go about that. Mr. Farlow's comments, I think, are well taken. It's a shame we can't phase this in. But once we approve it, we approve it. And my hope is that it would come forward at some future date for a better design. We've heard about the economy tonight. I think we're going to hear a lot about that. But at the same token, I don't want to be approving things for downtown that will not have a good term, a long-term good effect. So I'm curious about how my fellow commissioners feel about this, because I absolutely want to be as flexible as we can with applicants in ensuring that properties get developed and that they don't sit empty. And it certainly has some great bones to it. But there's an awful lot of waivers in here, and I'm not sure. There was a reference to the 92908 site plan. Is that the one? I'm assuming that's not the one that was in our draft that we received last week.
The condition change was in reference to the building elevations. That was the date stamp correction.
So I guess what I'm saying is that based on what I've seen, I don't know what I'm approving. I don't know what the final product will look like.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, would it be helpful for me to go into detail of?
Yes.
Okay. And I will say that I'll go into detail first about what we're planning on doing to the property.
I
hope it's going to look like this revised site plan we're looking at.
I just wanted to frame this in that, the proximity to the downtown museum, the nameless museum. I think the Lady Luck is going through some major changes. There's just been so much work put into this area. My hope is that it wouldn't be, it's an improvement over what's there, but it seems to me this is our opportunity to do it right the first time. So maybe you can address some of those issues.
Absolutely. I think once I describe exactly what we plan to do in terms of renovating the existing buildings, you'll be pleased. And the only thing I will say is really we have every intention of redeveloping this site. It only makes sense. We can be a lot more successful with the property if we completely redevelop it into a traditional resort hotel, or I guess a new style resort hotel casino. The alternative to to disapprove this would to basically leave the Travel Inn vacant, and the Gold Spike could operate, but we wouldn't be allowed to do some of the improvements that we seek to do, and I'll go into detail in explaining those. So first of all, here, this is the Gold Spike. This is the Gold Spike Hotel and Casino. As you know right now, not only are there the exposed utility lines, but there are exposed, the windows are very old and dilapidated. There are exposed air conditioning units. There's exposed mechanical equipment up here. The signage is fairly run down. There's lots of banners on the building, old banners, and basically the paint, just the overall finish of the building is completely dilapidated. So what we're proposing to do is add all new windows, new air conditioning units that will be screened. We're proposing to screen the mechanical equipment. You're going to have an entirely new marquee sign here that's actually very beautiful. Gold Spike will be located here. This is all going to be redone in extensive neon with plum colored, which is, and what they're kind of trying to do is to maintain some of the essence of the retro time that this was built, but also kind of look forward into the future. They've spent a lot of time and money in designing this project. There'll be metallic finish is here. There'll be new marquee signs located here. Like I said, those have been approved by your DRC committee. There'll be new stone veneer along here with a portion of the wall to be masonry, kind of stressed masonry. You have this, you can kind of see this finish here. We have completely new finish here. Again, you can kind of see by this color site plan that we'll be adding a pool, cabanas, new landscaping to the extent we can utilize existing improvements, refinishing the parking, undergrounding the existing utility lines. We vacated this alley. The travel in, same thing, complete new finish. We'll incorporate the masonry, the stone veneer, new windows on the exterior. We will hide the mechanical equipment, completely repaint the building. We're going to be redoing all of the rooms. If you've had a chance, the Gold Spike is already under construction, and in the interior, the portion that is completed is beautiful. They've done a tremendous job at taking something that was very run down, very undesirable, and turning it to something that I would go to. So, like I said, there's an extensive amount of redevelopment and improvements and infusion of capital that we will be putting into this project. And I really think, despite our noncompliance with some of the Centennial standards, that it's something that the city will be proud of and that will attract people to downtown.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans, any more comments or questions? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion on item 41.
Okay, before I make a motion, I would like to make some comments. So, Mr. Farlow is right. This is not what we really want. However, having said that, we want a home run, but sometimes we'll just have to settle for a double or maybe a triple. And I think that's what we've got here. I think that the efforts that the city is making to revitalize downtown in its totality is advanced by this project. I sit on that DRC committee, and just a few days ago we spent considerable time reviewing the signage associated with this improvement, and a significant amount of money is being spent just on the signage alone. Some of the renderings that we saw at that committee showed some of the visual improvements that are made to the overall building, as well as the upgrades to the travel in. Regards to the signage, to protect the nostalgia of the travel in, we made some modifications to make it still have kind of the retro look. But with the offer of the compromises on some of the waivers regarding the landscaping, and I certainly am in full agreement with the changing from the date palms to the Mexican fan palms, because those date palms are messy, and I don't know why they're in our code, quite frankly. They're just a maintenance nightmare. So having said all that, that's why I'm going to support this project. If there's there is one further comment, so...
No, I was just going to say, in my last act of defiance, I would like to make a motion on the last item for tonight's agenda.
Sir?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Okay, on item 41, move for approval with staff's as-if approved conditions.
As amended?
As amended. Thank you.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 41 with conditions as amended. Please cast your vote. And that motion has passed.
And that is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days to the city clerk.
Understood. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Denham.
Next item is Director's Business, and I think I'll yield the floor. If the Vice Chairman doesn't mind, I'll appoint Sam as our interim second Vice Chairman and ask you to read this last item and then citizens' participation.
Item 42, Director's Business, public hearing, applicant owner City of Las Vegas, request to update the downtown Las Vegas Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan, Ward 3 and Ward 6. Staff?
That would be 5.
Ward 5.
6. Nice try, but...
That can be any ward I want.
I think. Thank you. This is the summary of changes to the existing Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan. Included, the entire document is updated with information since 2004. There are 2 new sections that we hope will make our national designation application stronger, and those are the information with regard to the Neon Museum and Boneyard, and also a strengthened implementation section. It is updated to include the revised Downtown Design Review Committee oversight, and I need to note that there is no new regulatory changes proposed, that this plan is still a non-regulatory document. We request the Planning Commission's recommendation to the City Council. If there's any questions, I'll work on it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is obviously the Scenic Byway is a great plan, and I've been on the committee that helped put this together for some period of time. There is a couple technical changes in here that I think, if nothing else, we should raise support for me to raise the question, because I think it does affect the quality of the scenic byways. There's a section under safety review which goes into how bad people, page 38, which again summarizes how bad people drive in the community. Well, wider streets are not going to make safer streets. And this section adds some language incurring the current constraint right-of-way of 80 feet that to be increased to 120 feet along Las Vegas Boulevard from Sahara to 4th Street. And when I did attend the public meeting on this, also a public meeting on the proposed master streets and highway revisions, I'm concerned that this document indicates that the city has already moved and decided to implement this wider right-of-way along Las Vegas Boulevard, and I understand that has not been done yet. So I just want to raise that question, because I think the scenic byway, the signage, the whole character of Las Vegas is as we go downtown, is interesting. It's culturally diverse, if you will. But I'm not so sure just talking about wider streets and a bus route down the strip is a guarantee that we're enhancing the scenic byway. So I'm in favor of mass transit. I'm in favor of making the scenic byway better. But when I got to this section, I thought what we're rewriting was, for lack of a better description, seemed to be on a different agenda.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody want to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any more comments from any commissioners on item 42? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion on item 42, please.
On item 42, move for approval with staff's as if approved conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval of item 42. A yes vote is for the approval. And that motion has passed.
And that goes forward to City Council in ordinance form.
Item 43, citizens' participation. Public comment raised during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited.
Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Commissioner Dunham, been a pleasure working with you. Good luck and Godspeed.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate it.
That will close our public hearing portion. We were going to reserve a few minutes at the end of the meeting for comments from Commissioner Dunham. How do you want to go out, Commissioner Dunham? Roasted or?
I'll jump in and not roasting. That's inappropriate because he might hold it against us at some future date when he's appearing on the other side of the dais here. But I would like to thank Sam for the many hours of work he's put in on behalf of the public, and I particularly appreciate some of his pro bono professional civil engineering work that he's done up here at the dais with helping some of the applicants through some of the tougher phases that they really weren't prepared to answer questions. There were many times that an item was going to have to be continued for a couple of meetings, and we were able to trail them, and Sam went out and met the person in the corner and just simply helped them through the process and came back and was able to speed up the development, save the applicant a lot of money, and save staff a lot of headache and energy rewriting and reposting and all that type of thing. So his type of professional expertise contributed quite a bit to the success of this commission, and I'd like to just thank Sam personally.
Thank you.
I'd like to come
Commissioner
next,
Quinn?
because I always cry at goodbyes, even though I haven't known you that long, Sam.
Get your checkbooks out, guys.
Two things about Sam Dunham. Number one, he leaves here tonight because he's putting his daughter first, and that shows you his integrity. And the second thing is, I'm the newest member to the board, and Sam would scurry behind here and ask me, did I want to make the motion? Did I understand what they were saying? I always said no. He would explain it to me and scurry back quickly. So with that, Sam, you welcomed me here as a colleague. You looked at me as an equal when I knew nothing. And I will miss you. And I can call you friend.
Mr. Evans?
Oh, how do you follow that? Yeah, I just, Sam, being an engineer, I really appreciate your specific expertise on this board, and I think that'll be sorely missed, but I would echo the comments about your integrity. You've really been an exemplary member of this board, and I don't think many of the public realizes the extraordinary commitment of time that this position entails. Public service is not easy, and I think this is one of the most difficult roles as a public servant in this community. We owe you a debt of gratitude, and don't be a stranger. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you, Sam, for your many years of service. You made understanding engineering a pleasure, and if I was a student interested in engineering and you were a professor, I would have enjoyed of learning from you. I know you ask a lot of direct questions, but you put it in a way that when you put it in a scenario, it kind of makes sense. Especially the way you asked the guy from the Water District tonight to explain that basin, was very, very simple. But I just want to thank you for your years of service. I think we're going to sorely miss you. And if you're not doing anything on Thursday night, tune us in. Or come on down.
Sam, I'd just like to thank you for the service and your input and your commitment to not always get caught up into the expedient solution on some of the things that come before us. It's important to have an independent voice in these items, as the Planning Commission does not always the easy job in this community. But I knew nothing about engineering, and I still don't, so it's okay. But thank you for all your time.
Commissioner Steinman?
Yes, thank you. I guess I'm the last here. I talked to Sam tonight, and he knows I'm going to miss him. It's been good sitting by him down here and getting to know him even better. I have great respect for him as a dad. I really like his daughter. He's raising her very well. But I want to say this. I told Sam that you get on the commission, it takes a while to get your feet lined up as to where you're going to go and how you're going to do it, and then you start to become very valuable to this body. Sam's reached that point where he becomes very valuable to us, and I'm sorry this has happened and you have to leave us, but we shall miss you. We shall miss your expertise and your diligence in getting into the bottom of these things. Sam, good luck to you, and God bless.
Well, thank you all. It's been a real pleasure, and I really hate to leave, but you got to do what you got to do, and you guys are really good friends. And I'm going to call you all the time because I'm going to be on the other side of the podium now. But thanks again, and I appreciate the effort you all have put into training me and just letting me become part of your lives a couple of times a month. So it's been fun. Thanks.
Thank you.
The commission has a little something for you. Chairman Goins was making a presentation at the APA luncheon the other day, and I got to pretend to be important by leaving early because I wanted to make sure that in addition to all of us that work with you here, no plaque or presentation is complete without the mayor's signature. So I left Mr. Goins' presentation so I could courier that up to get the mayor's signature for you. And
This is phenomenal.
I'll let you in that Commissioner Quinn did the honors, and everybody joined in to sign that for you, and we hope that it is an excellent memory for you of your service here in addition to the other proclamation that you got this evening.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This is really phenomenal. I don't know if the camera can zoom in on this to let the people at home can see this, but this means a lot. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Very welcome.
Commissioner, please don't move yet. Staff would like to note the deletion of an additional staff member, as Commissioner Dunham, of course, during meetings would pull up tentative maps, final maps for us, and help us out during the meetings, and it'll be sorely missed by staff.
Wait, you look surprised, Sam.
I think it's the tears.
There, much better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
And on the mayor's note in there, he said he didn't see downtown in that picture, but there is clearly a view of the stratosphere, so we wanted to put it on the record that is a reflection of the city of Las Vegas. With that said, Commissioner Dunham, again, thank you, and with that, the meeting is adjourned.